Man, I really need to watch A New Hope. I do not remember exactly how it goes. R2-D2, where are you? Come on, they're heading in this direction. We'll be destroyed for sure. Sent to the spice mines of Kessel. Smashed into who knows what. Wait, no, that's from earlier. Shit. Um, Princess? What princess? What mission?
All right,
You
we're
can't go
good.
in there. It's restricted.
Also, we've been live for the last 30 seconds.
Oh, crap!
And I think we're working, and I think we have audio.
That's no good. Fine. People were both watching ads. They couldn't see it. They didn't hear it.
Okay.
I'm having more of my bubbly.
I think we're back. Perfect. Let's carry on where we left off. I believe I was about to tell you that you're going to be talking about season 4.
I am?
Yes, because we've been teasing it for weeks.
Oh, shoot. I probably should have prepared something. All I prepared was that one-man show of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yes. Well, I mean...
So, it's okay. It's okay. I've got this.
Good. If you say so.
Anyway, we are here to... Dave keeps threatening to, like, make me go live when I'm doing stuff before the show, but that's the first time he's actually done it. Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions.
Where are we at? Yes, sorry. When my system restarted, all these windows are popping up and they're on top of everything. And Windows actually did an update, which is why it took so long. We're really on it today. Sorry. Where are we at? One-man reenactment. Yes. If you don't ask any questions, you will have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of, oh, shoot, we forgot to fill this. Well, this isn't, well...
Okay, there's already questions. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I agree.
We gotta get to it.
Yeah, we're behind. As always, we have pulled some questions forward from the previous show that we didn't get to, and we will answer some of those while we're waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, I do have a few updates for items we'd like to get looked at by the dev team, as well as Justin has the season 4 announcement to do. So let's get to that. So off the top, I don't have any new fixes or features, but we do have some things that are in progress, and now some of them are in progress further than they were in progress last week. Specifically, that's the saving feats with formations. I know Alex was working on the console UI portion for that, and it's basically just it's a spitting distance from the finish line for that one. So very shortly you'll be able to save feats with formations. I've actually been going back and forth with Jarrett on the damage text because of some upcoming feature that needed to have some underlying stuff reworked on it, and so we've actually added a couple of options in the settings for how the damage text gets displayed, and so there will be one that's significantly reduced, which will mean that for, when you've got 100 monsters all at your wall, that the number of texts that are popping up there will be, I don't know, probably like 20 times lower if that setting is on, and that does actually have an impact on performance, which is great. And of course, I still don't have an indicator for the unread items on the changelog. I did add a few more items to the potential items to put in here from previous episodes because we cleared everything out basically. So these potential items, which I have to run by Peter to make sure he knows that they're on the list, includes adjusting the time gate piece timer to take into account for offline time, making it so that season champions do not appear in the free time gate choice. Now that you can open 1,000 chests at a time, taking a pass at how many you can buy at a time, adding hotkeys to new systems because there's a number that have just been missed, adding a hide UI button for the lower UI, confirming that all areas have distractions properly assigned to them, stopping the random reordering of the notifications at the top when they all fit, and adding a prevention for allowing kicked players to just rejoin a trials lobby because that just doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. All right, that's that. Justin, what do you have to tell us about season 4?
Okay, well, this is going to be very exciting. Here we
Smartass.
Oh, okay, I'm just screwing with you guys. Okay, so yeah, so season 4 is coming in 2 weeks, and we have been teasing a lot of, we've been teasing that we're going to talk about it here on this show this week. Well, first we were teasing that we were going to talk about it last week, but we were wrong about that. So we're going to talk about it now. So season 4, if you haven't heard yet, because you probably haven't, is going to be focused around the champions of the Mithril Hall. Yay! So that is some of the companions of the hall and some of the adjacent champions. So some of their friends and foes. Specifically, it's going to be Catti-brie, Regis, Wolfgar, Artemis, and Pwent. Brunor, Jarlaxle, and Dritz will also receive some very minor updates, but the main updates are on those 5 champions. And there will be more information about exactly what those updates are in a blog coming out, I believe, tomorrow. Some of the things I can say right now is that Artemis is not getting very many changes. So anyone who's excited about continuing to use Artemis in the way that you currently use him, keep on doing that because he's not getting very many changes at all in this season. And the other big thing about this season is that one of the main features that we're adding in it is critical hits. Right now, just Catti-brie really has critical hits, and we are expanding that to everyone and everything. All champions will now have a chance to critical hit. All monsters will have a chance to critical hit. And there will be several abilities, especially around the companions of the hall and their friends, that increase the chance to crit and increase the amount of damage done. So we're very excited about that. There's a lot of cool synergies that are going into the game with all of the champion changes in Season 4 around critical hits. So that's going to be really cool. There will be the preview week for the season will be next week. So next Wednesday is when all of these changes are going to roll out. All of the monsters will start to crit you and totally destroy you, and you will do the same back to them. Next week will also include, in addition to the preview of all the champion changes, will also include the reward track preview. And that is a big thing that I would like to talk about today, because there are major changes to the reward track in Season 4 based off of player feedback from Seasons 1 and 2, and to a certain extent Season 3. But, I mean, because of the lag time of making these seasons, it was all locked and done before Season 3 was kind of halfway done. So let me quickly summarize what those changes are before we get to some questions. So one of the big pieces of feedback that we saw in Seasons 1 and 2 was that people who bought the pass felt like they were being punished, so to a certain extent. You would get the same amount of currency as players who didn't buy the pass, but you would need to spend either more before you could access the bonus tier 11s, and you were forced to spend your currency on what were considered sort of lesser filler rewards to get the skins, feats, and familiars that were advertised with the pass. Now, we did try to address this somewhat in Season 3 by making the requirement to unlock Tier 11 the same for pass holders and non-pass holders, so you could get down to Tier 11 with the same amount of currency, but this wasn't super satisfactory for us. So we decided to make a more drastic change. The big thing is season currency is no more. There will be no season currency in Season 4. Instead, rewards will just unlock and you'll be able to claim them immediately upon reaching a required season level. To accommodate for this, we have doubled the number of season levels and doubled the XP rewards. So the main reward track now goes up to level 60. The maximum level you can get to in the season without purchasing any boosts is roughly 90. And so there are 60 levels of rewards. There's one reward for people who don't have the pass, and then pass players can get that reward plus a pass reward at every single level. The tier 11 has sort of reward shop has been removed since there's no currency anymore, and instead is replaced with a fixed bonus track from level 61 plus. There are fixed rewards on that track based upon what used to be available in the tier 11 store. Plus, we threw a couple of support pigments in there for people who've bought the season pass, just to give you something to shoot for. This change does make tier 11 a little bit less powerful, as you can't pick the particular category of item you want and just get a bazillion of those. But in our opinion, that was far too powerful anyway, so we are not super sad to see that gone. The amount of rewards on the new bonus track and sort of the value of the rewards on the new bonus track is similar to what you could get from tier 11, but it's there's a forced variance to it. So you get a couple of bounty contracts, a couple of blacksmithing contracts, some potions, some chests, some Modron component chests, etc. And yeah. that's basically it in a nutshell. And I look forward to seeing some questions down here about it. And like I said, there'll be more information on a blog that I believe is going live tomorrow.
That is correct. All right. Well, I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions about that. But before we get into those, we still have the questions left over from last week, so we'll do those now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the questions that came in before the announcement. So,
and all the questions that came in before anyone could hear me talking.
I could hear you talking, so
that's true.
That's what matters.
So the first question here from last week's episode is from Orc Princess, and they say the in-game changelog Windows exit button is too close to the game exit button. Well, for me it is because I'm clumsy. Could it be fixed?
Yeah, so this is one where actually quite a number of dialogues do have a close button like next to the game close button if you're in the desktop client, and that includes the campaign map, the chest opening, the Modron core. Probably not something that we're going to be adjusting, but one option would just be to use the escape key to close the dialogue instead. All those dialogues do close with escape. Yeah, probably not a design thing we're going to change, but there's the escape option. Which should save a fat finger. I guess it's a mouse cursor, but yeah. Okay, next question. This one is from Fewer Pills. And they ask, can we please have the season buffs keep going after level 30? It would be nice to get some minor boost while not unlocking more tiers. The limit of 30 was especially weird because tier 11 needs 31, so you wouldn't even have a buff for that level.
Yeah, so this is a good question, and actually reminds me of one thing that I left out of the the list. There is the season buffs are getting spread out a bit, so it's the same number of buffs, but they will be spread out from level 1 to 60, or I guess 3 to 59. I think is how it shook out.
Right. But
So
you get
yeah,
more XP per quest, so it
you do
comes
get
in
more
the same
XP
amount of
per
time.
quest. Yes, so you get them, you unlock them in the same amount of time. So they're effectively basically the same in season 4 as they were in season 3. But this is something to think about of potentially adding some additional buffs beyond kind of the base reward track. Yeah, there's no changes coming to that for season 4. It's something we can think about for season 5 and beyond. The next question here is from Loopy79, who asks, the rollout of the survey appears to have been a little wonky for some people, vanishing via Modron resets, etc., requiring tickets to be placed if people wanted to do it. Could surveys instead be pushed out via a pop-up news post with a button to launch the survey?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think we really should consider for the next survey. I remember initially when we were like the very first survey, I feel like there was a reason why we didn't put it in the news, but I don't remember what it was at this point.
I do not remember either.
But it does seem like there was definitely some issues with the rollout of this survey, or the one that occurred 2 weeks ago, and so something to make that a little more resilient to things being closed, or just sort of a way to get back to it more easily if you missed it or closed the dialogue makes a lot of sense to me. So I think we'll tag that as something that we will put a little bit more thought into before the next one goes out. So good call. All right, moving on to questions from this week. First question of the day comes from Library of Akasha, asking, can you make it so that Modron set formation has a shortcut to the formation save manager? Perhaps you can mark a saved formation so it is set as the Modron formation upon Modron reset.
Yeah, so this is a question. I'm not entirely sure which way this is sort of asking for things to be. Is it asking for?
Does the Modron set formation not have a shortcut to the formation save? I thought it did. I thought it did pop up.
So you can get to the formation save manager from when you're setting up a formation, or is it so you can assign a saved formation to a Modron? Immediately, like I could see a use case where it'd be nice to, like, from the formation save manager, just be able to set formations to your particular Modron.
Right.
Yeah, so the Library of Akasha is clarifying in chat. So you can save a formation and then go into the Modron and set it immediately. I mean,
Right.
I could see something like that. I could see some optimizations done here to kind of pull those two things together, because they're really just they were kind of designed as separate systems, where we designed the formation save manager first, and then we designed the Modron system later, and so we never really went back to the formation save manager and thought about how we could integrate those two things better. So I think somewhere down the road it could be integrated together so that it's a little bit more streamlined.
Agreed. Next question. Randram, weekly 9 jump, weekly token 9 jump question.
Yeah, so this is again, I actually finally went and looked at the item levels required to set or to get a 9 jump guaranteed on a shiny item on that on the equipment piece, and it was a little bit higher than I thought it was, which does make me feel like it's something that we need to think a little bit more about. One of the things that we were kind of thinking about overall to kind of address some of these issues with people just spending ridiculous amounts of blacksmithing contracts on champions was the idea of putting in just a fixed level cap across equipment. So having, like, say a 20,000 item level cap across all equipment, and that obviously would have some issues with these kind of large fixed jumps that people have shot for with with Briv specifically. And so I think it's something that we need to think about, and need to figure out how this would function. So I think it's back onto the drawing board, unfortunately, at the time being, for the time being.
Okay. Next question. This one is also from Library of Akasha. The question is, please hard cap persist at 2 billion. It's a little bit of an odd way to write that, but I guess it's because the next part says currently it goes up to 2,147,483,647, also known as maximum signed int. Then goes negative and breaks the persist champion. Mainly Zorbo being broken, but best attach that hard cap to all persist champions.
Yeah, I imagine, and the next question is very similar to this. It's just about Modron XP, and I'm guessing that these that when we were developing these, we didn't really care, because honestly, in order to get your persist up that high, you pretty much need to be scripting with like max speed for a very, very long time. In fact, I didn't actually do the math when thinking about this, but it feels like something that is outside the realm of reasonable possibility. I think Library Cache is saying Zorbu's break easy. I mean, I don't particularly buy that. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we can put in place just to catch those edge cases. But I don't think it's an edge case that the vast majority of players are going to run into.
Yeah. Plus, you can run it around again. So if you get to negative 2
yeah, I mean, if you're able to,
it's easy to get.
If you're able to farm up to 2 billion, what's another 4 billion to get back up there?
Yeah. They're gonna like that answer. Yes. Okay. So you cross off the motor one as well. All right. Moving on to the next question. This is from a name I haven't seen before, so potentially first question. This is from Torty Foo. Asking, can the emergence events be made much more time zone friendly? I'm based in Australia and normal daily rollover is at 5 a.m. Even with the drop stopping 3 hours earlier, it was still 2 a.m. So as a result, I didn't get all 70,000 and was 534 short. I'd hoped background processing would pick them up, but it did not.
Yeah, I think I know why we haven't seen any questions from this person before.
Yes, that makes sense.
7 a.m.
Yes.
when our stream starts. So good morning, Tortifu. G'day. Yeah, I think that the way I would like to address this is by having background processing properly pick that up. It's a little bit challenging because when the background processing starts running after the emergence event has ended, it wouldn't it wouldn't know that an emergence event had been running, so we need to do some extra stuff in there to make sure that would work. I am hesitant to try and move the time that ends, because there's always going to be a time that is bad for someone somewhere in the world. And I think we had this question similarly a couple of weeks ago, someone asking about moving sort of the reset time, or being able to pick your reset time, and there are definitely some issues with that. So I think the solution to this would be trying to fix the background processing so that it knew that there was an emergence event for part of the time you were offline, and then it gave you the tokens for that.
Okay. Actually says he is a semi-regular viewer. Although normally has something to do early Friday mornings. Yes. Right. Next question. This is from Library of Akasha. Please make more speed champions with their speed abilities tied to an equipment. Looking for someone to pump scrolls into. More speed plus more persist champions like Nahara, please.
Yeah, I mean, we do try to do speed champions with some equipment, though we are learning that equipment needs to have a pretty fixed cap from an early point. So so we do always try to have some speed equipment on speed of champions, but with a cap. So if you're looking to get 2 billion item levels on there. In fact, I'm surprised you didn't ask about item levels when you're. Anyway. Yes, so this is definitely something we take into consideration when we're doing new speed champions. And it sounds like our giveaway is ready to go. It feels very early, but I think that's because we were just futzing around for the first 10 minutes of the stream trying to get my audio to work. So what this means is it's time for our world famous weekly giveaway of 42 chests. The way it works is very shortly in chat, there will be an announcement during which there will be a keyword. The way you enter is by just typing that keyword back into chat. There it is right there. It's 4 seasons. 4 seasons irrigation, I assume. So type that in. You will be entered in for an opportunity to win. If you win, you get to pick the type of chest, and we will add 42 of those chests to your account. It can be any type of chest that exists in the game. It could be just regular silver chests, I guess, if you wanted. Don't do that, though. Get a better chest, like a Modron component chest.
Or a lithium chest.
No, that type of chest does not exist in the game.
Magnesium?
Plus, if you drop
titanium.
if you dropped a lithium chest into water, that would be bad news.
Oh, sure, fine. Go with the potassium one instead, then.
No, that's bad too. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This one's from the Mad Mallard, and they ask, what do you think about an option to include specializations when loading non-Modron save formations?
Well, I mean, I feel like this was a decision that you made, Justin. I know I actually put this in, right, as a default thing originally, and we looked it over and we thought actually it made sense to have it as something that only was Modron specific. Do you remember what the reasoning for that was?
No, I feel like that happened
a long time ago.
Happened when I wasn't around. I think I feel like that was like when I was off. When did Modron stuff come out? Did that come out right around when Ellie was born? Was that long ago, or was it the year after that? I feel like it was
been
that
out for a little while. Yeah.
No, I feel like I actually wasn't included in the discussions of that.
What are you telling me? Yeah, I mean, I think sort of where everything shook out was that the additional sort of automation of having the specialization selected for you was something that was going to be restricted by having a Modron running, that it wasn't just something that was going to be a base feature. So I don't think that sort of we've sort of had any kind of backtracking on that at this point, but the reason it's included only in Modron was it was something that you were to unlock as a feature for having the Modron, and not just a default available option.
Yeah, I mean, we are making some changes to save formations, right? Like we're including feats in them soon. think you talked about that at the top of the show.
Yeah. The feat information is literally, as I said, it's spitting distance from being ready to go. And that will be, the feats will be included in non-Modron saved formations. But right now that because we did make some changes to the way that dialogue actually works, when you bring that up, it does actually sort of the specialization one does come with a disclaimer at the top, which is that this only works when there's an active Modron. So
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Jumping down a little bit here to a question from Garwar. Garwar asks, with the reforging system for legendaries, should it be possible to reforge into the exact same bonus, but just with a different favor requirement for upgrading? That feels really bad, but yet it is happened.
Yeah, no, that I don't think that should be happening. It feels like it
terrible.
should. Yeah, it should always pick a new bonus. So if that's not the case, then we can certainly get someone to look at that and
correct it.
Fixed.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're gonna look at it and
that sucks.
Confirm that it's happening, and then do not. Okay, next question. This question is also from Garwar, asking, we were generally confused the last time you added a feat to a tank that gave them a self-damage bonus, and we're still confused. Can you explain why this wasn't just an increase of the damage of all champions bonus with a smaller value to be more consistent with them being a support champion?
Yeah, no, I think it should be. I think the reason that happened is because we were kind of designing some new feat types, and as kind of a placeholder, we put in, we wanted them to have basically a base effect and then sort of a bonus effect, and the bonus effect being like the taunt or the healing reduction or whatever it was. And I think the base effect being, self-damage plus 400% was kind of a filler, and it just didn't get adjusted before it went live, or adjusted for the specific champion that it went live for. So I think this is something that we should look into and make sure that we have some proper variety in those so that it can be the damage of all champions probably makes sense in all cases. Whereas if we wanted to go more specific, we could change it up based on the roles of the champion it's affecting. So a DPS champion could continue to have the self-damage bonus, and a support champion could have the damage of all champions, and a tank champion could have, plus health or something like that. So we'll look at that and see which way we want to go.
Okay. Next question. This one is from JadeRan3113, asking, players are using background parties in events to convert the favor 4 times instead of once at the end of the event. Is this an intended feature of background parties, and are players encouraged to do so?
So no, this is not an intended feature of background parties, and I would say players are not encouraged to do so. And I am surprised that this is still working, because I thought that we had addressed this in the past. So I'm going to highlight that. This is something that we've definitely we knew existed, and I swear we looked at it and we put in some code to not allow favor conversion until after all your parties were out of the event. So
yeah,
I'm
sounds
surprised
really familiar.
that it's still there.
All right, well, we can take a revisit for sure.
Let's see. Next question is from Loopy79, who asks, any chance of a smaller familiars option, or of making familiars scale according to resolution settings? Currently, when using smaller resolutions, familiars retain their normal size, covering up to 75% or so of a champion's portrait, depending on the particular familiar assigned to leveling them. And with animations, it can make it very hard to click on the actual champion rather than the familiar.
Okay, I see what's being asked here. Because I was thinking,
I guess when the UI scales down, but the familiar does not.
Yeah. I was gonna wonder. Actually, does the main screen familiars scale down? Are they on the? They must be actually on the state, or on the actual like game field, and not on the UI layer. I'm just trying to remember where they're actually placed. They might actually be on a UI layer above the ground, on the ones that are clicking on the main game, because I think they don't change based on the. Well, nevertheless, it does seem like that makes a lot of sense when you're running at a lower resolution, like if you're running at 720p. They could easily be taking up a lot more space, making things a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I mean, I think we could consider that as an option. Because yeah, certainly as you increase the game resolution, the UI portions for that would get larger, and the familiars would not get larger, which would result in them taking up less space on the elements. So yeah, I'll tag that. We can take a look at it. Okay, next question. This is the when are we? This is from Bill Slowski 002. When are we getting big awesome good guy? Which would BAGG, I guess, is the
as opposed to BBEG,
just
big
bag,
bad evil guy.
the big bag, bag.
The bag. Yeah, no, I just highlighted this because it was a funny question. There's lots of big awesome good guys. Minx is a big awesome good guy.
Is that? It just reminds me when we were working on Shards of Titan on an earlier game we did. We had a character that was known as EPD in all of our internal docs, which stood for Evil Pawn Dude.
He wasn't actually. He was the bad guy for that game, but was actually just a pawn of some bigger evil force.
Yes, well, it was supposed to be the big reveal. You get halfway through the game and find out that who you thought was the big bad guy is not, and there's a bigger, badder guy, which is, what?
No one's ever done that trope before.
Yeah, every Final Fantasy game ever, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, next question here is from LazyCat97202, who says, "Thank you for the interface setting for scientific notation. It makes the game so much more understandable. Can we have a similar setting to change things like a 200% increase and 500% increase to 3 times and 1.5 times? That would make it easier to understand that a 200% increase is twice as good as 50% increase rather than 4 times as good."
Yeah, that is an interesting question.
I think that's true.
Sorry, what portion do you think would be true?
I mean, a 1.5 times increase, the 3 times is twice as big as 1.5 times, but the actual increase portion of that is only everything past the 1.
Yes.
And so a 200% increase is 4 times as good as a 500% increase.
It certainly has led, this difference between nomenclature has definitely led to confusion, both internally and externally in the past, just sort of when looking at how the numbers work. Because I think, to make matters worse, internally, the actual numbers in the data are in multiples of times, not 200, or not percent. Is that?
No, they're in percentages, but they're in percentages as integers to a 100.
Yeah, there's something a little bit odd about it, but I'm not sure if this would, again, as sort of what you pointed out, would work in sort of every situation. But it's certainly something that could be thought about, but having not sort of thought it all through as to where it would be displayed, if it would actually make as much sense, and how that would impact sort of decimal points on that. Probably wouldn't be too bad. Some of them get quite large, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's not easy to kind of grok some of these changes to numbers. Humans aren't all that great at just thinking this stuff through, and it can be very confusing because, I mean, I guess you could say that a 1.5 times or a 50% increase versus a 200% increase, the final number that you get is going to be twice as big with a 200% increase compared to a 50% increase, but the actual increase you get is 4 times bigger with a 200% increase than a 500 or than a 50% increase. So it's like, how do you display these such that everyone will kind of grok the magnitude of these changes when we're talking about these kind of big numbers that just don't exist in everyday life and that we're just not necessarily set up to intuitively understand. So I think there's, like you say, there's arguments to be made for either kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, sort of in the general sense, I don't have any objection to having an option to do something like that. I'd just be worried about the edge cases and wouldn't want to commit to something like that until I knew what they looked like. Yeah. Okay, next question. This is from Peter Depan, asking, what exactly was changed between the interaction of Narak and BBEG?
Yeah, so this is a good question. There's also a question a couple down here that doesn't have a name attached to it. That is basically this the answer to this question, along with another question. So I'll just read out that question. And their question was: yesterday, you hotfixed the interaction between Nrak's Githzerai focus and BBEG's sources of corpses. It was bugged in the sense that it was affecting the zombie's spawn rate and the damage buff of the ability. The fix made it so the ability is no longer affected by Githzerai focus at all. And this other person says, is this the intended effect, or should the buff part still be boosted without affecting the zombie spawn rate? And so the intended fix was indeed to just remove Githzerai focus from being able to affect sources of corpses. It's one of those. Honestly, if I could just remove Githzerai focus from the game entirely, I would. Because it's one of those things where that ability is literally the only ability in the game that buffs certain other abilities, and it does it in ways that design does not necessarily anticipate when we're designing things. So it makes it very challenging when these kind of edge cases pop up, and we're like, that was definitely not intended. And should not be so. And so at this point, my sort of reaction to that is sort of to take out my squirt bottle and sort of squirt Narak and go, no, don't do that. So that's why we just sort of pulled Narak off of being able to affect sources of corpses, rather than sort of letting it be a partial bonus to that ability.
Sorry, did you say squirt bottle?
Yes. I have a little squirt bottle that I use to spray champions who are misbehaving, like a cat that's not doing what you want. So yes, it was intended that we just disconnect that interaction entirely, and we'll revisit Narak down the road.
Okay. I guess you didn't quite catch that.
I don't think I did.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see. Next question is from Devil Crayon, who asks, checking in again to see if any progress has been made with the quest journal draw errors. Thanks you.
Yes, this is actually a bit of a timely question. We have been making some improvements to actually how the play history is stored, specifically for the opening of large numbers of chests, because one of the issues that we ran into immediately, actually, after allowing 1,000 chests, was that all of the data that was stored for all of the items that came back in those 1,000 chests was going into the play history and making the entries sort of untenably large. And so Mark had been working on making those, or sort of aggregating all that down to sort of like a compressed version of the record. And one of the things that he came across while he was updating the play history was what definitely looked like a bug in the reuse of elements in the play history that very likely is going to fix at least a number of issues of how elements are displayed in the play history, or I guess it's called the journal in game. So we may actually have inadvertently fixed that as we were putting in additional options for showing large numbers of chest opening, or of loot in the play history. So that'll remain to be seen if that did get that particular issue, but it definitely looked like it was causing a reuse of elements that weren't supposed to be reused, which would have caused some of the issues that I remember hearing about last time. No details in this question here, but I think what was described before was sort of like elements appearing out of order and that sort of thing, and I think that would have been definitely causing something like that. So fingers crossed Mark corrected that as he was putting in some new options for compressed loot displays.
Cool. Speaking of visual errors, the next question is from Kitscan, who asks, is there a fix coming or incoming for the black screen after starting an adventure problem? Starting an adventure leads to a black screen where you can see the coins being collected but can't see or click on anything. A restart of the game fixes the problem.
See, we had an issue like this a long time ago.
I know. I was going to say, I remember this from...
I haven't heard a report of this in like 18 months.
Check your client version and make sure you're not running something sub 100.
Right. I see someone else in the chat saying they also have this issue. I wonder if something. Oh, and I just said, okay, so we've got a number of confirms here. I'm going to tag this and make sure that they're aware that something is happening here.
I wonder if we undid like a
yes,
fix,
something might have broken because yeah, this was
the issue before was like when if you reset while changing an area or something, like the area transition thing stays up. Is that what was happening?
That was an issue a very long time ago. That particular cause, but that was sorted out. Yeah, fairly quickly. Yeah. I do, like, again, sounds like an issue. We definitely had an issue that I don't remember exactly what the resolution was that was reported, like I say, around 18 months ago is when I remember seeing that a lot. But yep, tagged it. I will make sure that Peter is aware that we're seeing a number of reports for that. So,
cool.
Okay, moving on. Next question here. This one is from Peter Depan. Is there a problem at the moment with the gold-silver distribution with event chests? I've never had such a bad luck with event gold chests.
As far as I know, we haven't made any changes to that. If multiple people are seeing this similar to the one above, if multiple people are seeing something change there, then we can certainly take a look. But my intuition would be that there is nothing we would have changed that would affect this, because this would just be very, very basic code that sets up the distribution of those chests. So it is definitely possible to get super bad luck. It's also very possible to get super good luck. There's going to be people on both sides of that bell curve. So my guess is this would just be bad luck.
Okay. Next question. This is from Bookodish. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Are there any achievements going to become legacy with the season changes? Assumedly that's for season 4 changes.
Yes, I am just looking through the champions now. I believe that, yes, Puents is going to change. So if you don't have Puents achievement, which is currently, what is it? It's called Dwarven Splat. We have to max out count 'em off stacks for at least 6 seconds in a row. You will need to, if you want to get that done and you don't have it done, you've got just under a week for that. And I am going to just highlight this and make sure that this information is included in the blog, because that is a good flag. It looks like everyone else is keeping their achievements because, well, we didn't change the abilities that were referenced in those achievements, whereas we did change Puent. So we'll need to do that.
Okay. Next question. This is from OG17, and they ask, are you giving Artemis an affiliation? And then follow-up is, I just set up the unaffiliated core, if that helps in your decision-making.
Oh,
now,
yes.
I'm not sure if that's going to be a
Which
positive
way is
or
it no, so Artemis is not getting an affiliation in this season. He is just a foil of the companions, so he does not get to join that affiliation directly.
Okay. So this next question, I'm actually not sure if this is that they want to have this thing or they're just asking if it is included. But LazyCat97202 asks, critical misses too?
So the answer to that is no. There are no critical misses in the game. I think that'd be hilarious.
Why didn't we do that?
I think the art department would get mad at us if we were like, oh, we need funny animations for any time any champion misses with their attack, where they fall over and
drop their
step onto a
sword
rake and the rake head comes up and smacks them in the face, or it'd be a lot of work.
Could be worth it.
Yeah, no, we're focusing on just critical hits.
Yeah,
that's it. Positive critical hits. We're very positive. Positive only. 20s only. No one's getting rolled in this area.
I mean, sometimes people think certain champions were a critical.
Oh.
All right. Next question. This one is from Fewer Pills, asking, any news about pigments in the season rewards?
Yes, there will be pigments in the season rewards. Season 4 will have, I believe it'll have a couple of DPS pigments in the season pass track, and then it will have some support pigments in the season pass track, and then there'll be a couple of support pigments in the bonus track for people who have bought the season pass.
Okay. All right, another question here from Peter DePan. Any news on the release date for the Alchemy update?
Oh, no, there's no news on that. It is still just it's not a
Google
gleam.
Doc.
It's not a gleam in my. It's a Google Doc in my eye.
It's a reflection of a Google Doc in the corner of your eye.
Exactly. So yeah, it's going to be a little while probably before that gets high enough up the priority list to get some work on it.
Yep. Next question. This is from Dota 2 Norax, and they ask, could the patch notes tell which heroes get new feats?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Okay.
We should make sure that the patch notes include that. Most oftentimes, if feats get added kind of between like seasons, then those would be feats that come attached to a DLC, and so I'm not entirely sure how we would want to state that on there. It's something to think about. And just to clarify, since there's some confusion over the pigment stuff, all of the pigments that are in the season reward track are on the paid track, so you have to have the season pass in order to get them. The DPS ones are within the first 60 levels, so they're on the sort of the base season paid track, and then the support ones are on the bonus tracks. But you do have to have the season pass to get them. And let's see, can we squeeze in another question or two since we're running a little late?
Sure, we could probably get through these two because spoilers don't have a good answer for them.
Oh, okay. So Matsbud1 asks, here's a good way to end the show.
Oh, no.
To say, every time I dock/undock my laptop, the text is so small I can't read it at all. If I go into settings display, I can hit apply changes without actually changing anything, and then my settings are reapplied. Is there a way to fix this so I don't have to go into settings every time I undock? Is this specific to the game, or are they just looking for tech support?
Could be both. That sounds like probably the changing of the display when they go from their laptop display to the desktop display. I don't have a good answer for that. I guess spoilers that I said that before, but I don't have a good answer for exactly how that's interacting with Windows that's causing the game to, or the display to change the resolution, like the 4K scaling on it. I think is what's happening there. But again, I don't have a good answer specifically for that. I'm not sure. I know there are some options sort of in the game or in the Windows settings where you can go to the executable and set up some of the scaling options, and maybe there's something there that would work more reliably, but I don't know off the top of my head, unfortunately. All right.
And the last question here of the show. Well, let's do the second to last one. Let's do the other one too.
Okay.
From Eknor, they ask, can the spacebar and or the enter key be used to close dialogues in addition to the escape key, or an option to choose which key we want to use?
Yeah, so sort of in this particular case, I mean, the spacebar enter key to close a dialogue is a pretty big sort of departure from the usual, like the norms for that, and so it's not something that I would be inclined to do.
Rough Rider 1995 says, key bindings, please.
Yeah.
The point at which we have key bindings is when we become a real game.
Key bindings is a jar of worms for sure, that we may at some point open, but also not something that we're going to be opening at this time. All right, last question then. We can get this done because we only have 2 minutes to go. This is from Dota 2 Norax, and they would like to know, can we get a feat gallery so we do know which ones we are missing? Yes,
it's part of the collection dialogue rework is a feats panel where you can filter and sort the feats however you want, and you'll be able to see which ones you're missing there pretty easily. So yes, that's coming. There's actually someone working on it now.
All right, now there's definitely all we've got time for.
Yes, if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be live again at this same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Jordan and Gabe. Thanks to both of you for copying the questions into our question stock and making chat awesome.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
So, did I tell you that I lost my job at the keyboard factory? They said I wasn't putting in enough shifts. What? Nothing? You got nothing for that?